Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Hoy es viernes el 13 de noviembre o lunes el 16 de noviembre. Your warm-up question for today is to articulate in your own words what the difference in use is between saber and conocer. If you look at the notes that we took last class, talked about how saber and conocer are essentially the same verb in terms of meaning. They both mean to know. But what's the difference in use? In what context is each used? Talk about that for your warm-up question for participation points for today. We're going to go over the notes next that we looked at last class. I had asked you guys last class to fill out the last two slides. Nothing that you necessarily needed to turn in, just to complete your notes. We weren't able to get to those last couple of slides. And for those, I want you to fill in the blanks indicating which verb should be used, saber or conocer, and then refer to the notes to determine why. So each blank, saber or conocer, and then use the context clues in the sentence to determine your decision. And go back to your notes. Remember that saber is used to talk about knowing something, knowing information or facts, or knowing how to do something, used with verbs predominantly. And then in terms of information, we talked about the context clues being WH words, right? Like quién, dónde, cómo, cuándo, por qué, ¿cierto? All those are interrogatives. WH words like who, what, when, where, why, and how, soliciting information. So interrogatives will be your context clue as well, in addition to verbs for saber. Conocer, on the other hand, is used to know people and places, right? To be familiar with someone or to be familiar with some place. So anytime you see people or places and you do not see an interrogative or a verb, because that would be associated with saber, right? As long as you don't see an interrogative, you don't see a verb, and it's only referring to a person or a place, then you can choose with conviction the verb conocer. And again, both of these meaning to know. So after we go over those responses that you guys gave at the very end of the PowerPoint, and again, that PowerPoint can be found, here, right here. Then we're going to take a look at the homework. We're not going to have time for Hase and time expressions, unfortunately. The homework is right here. It is due this evening at midnight. And if you haven't knocked it out yet, you can go ahead and do so. We'll start it. Here you're making comparisons of equality. You can go back to the notes that you guys took earlier in the month about how to do that. Tan, remember, is used with adjectives. Tan always used with adjectives to say how two things are similar or the same as one another, right? El karate es tan popular como el ajedrez. Karate is as popular as chess. Popular is an adjective, that's why tan is being used with it. And then the only other thing you need to do is conjugate the verb that's provided. This is the verb ser, and you can see how it's conjugated in the third person singular, es. Tanto, on the other hand, is used with nouns to say that one thing has as many of something as something else. Hay tantos clubes en nuestra escuela como equipos. There are as many clubs. Clubs is a noun, so we're going to use tanto with nouns. And then notice how the ending of tanto agrees with the ending of the noun. Clubes is masculine plural, so that's why we use the masculine plural form of tanto. So for page 22, complete each sentence by doing two things. First, conjugate the verb according to your subject. Not sure how to conjugate these verbs? Go to Word Reference or Spanish Dictionary. Type in the verb, So for example, in this case, tener. And then you'll see underneath the word, not only can you hear it pronounced,
tener,
but you can see the definitions, which you already have, synonyms, words that are similar. But then if you go here to where it says conjugación, right, in Espanol, click there and it'll show you how to conjugate that verb in the present tense, which is the only tense that you guys know so far. If we're talking about el club de ajedrez, the chess club, we're talking about it. So it wouldn't be the yo form, right? That's for yourself. Wouldn't be the tú form. That's when you're talking to someone. We'd use the él, ella, usted form, which translates to he, she, or it. And then ella can also refer to inanimate objects, non-living things. So that's how we get tiene. Forgive me. Correct answer there is tiene. El club de ajedrez tiene. And then you figure out whether reuniones is a noun, like in this example, or if it's an adjective. In the first example, reuniones is a cognate, looks and sounds like and means reunions or meetings. That's a noun. And you can look reuniones up and figure out if it's a masculine. Obviously, it's plural, right? So we just need to figure out if it's masculine plural or feminine plural, and the F indicates that it's feminine, cierto femenino. El club de ajedrez tiene tantas reuniones como el club de computadoras, ¿cierto? El club de ajedrez tiene tantas, and we're using tantas because reuniones is feminine plural. We know it's feminine because we just looked it up. We know it's plural because it ends in es. Nouns that are plural end in s. Tantas reuniones como el club de ajedrez. Number 2, la natación. And then ser is going to be conjugated just like in the example. Right? We're talking about a singular subject, not soy. That's yo soy, that's for yourself. Eres is the tú form of ser. We're going to use es. La natación es, just like the example, popular is an adjective. Remember, with adjectives, we always use tan right before. La natación es tan popular. Then don't forget como right after the last word here in the middle section. La natación es tan popular como el hockey. All right, so that's page 22. Conjugate the verb that's provided according to the subject, and then figure out if the next word is a noun. If it is, use tanto. If it's an adjective, then use tan. 23, you guys are filling in the blank. Don't fill in the blank with just saber or conocer. Fill it in with the correct form of saber or conocer, ¿cierto? So the first example, and then use the context clues, of course, right? Interrogatives and verbs with saber, and people and places with conocer. Ramón sabe tocar el piano. Saber, porque estamos hablando de un talento, right? Tocar el piano is a talent. Ramón sabe. Sabe because we're talking about him in the él form. Él, ella, usted. Ramón sabe tocar el piano. Él quiere ser miembro de la banda, pero no blank al director. Now, director is a person, right? Director. So that would be the verb conocer. And we're going to use the same form for conocer as we did for saber, because we're still talking about Ramón. It's Ramón knowing how to play the piano. It's Ramón not knowing or being familiar with the director. And so the correct form of conocer for this example would be conoce, ¿cierto? In the same form, the el form. And that is your homework, guys, and your agenda for viernes el 13 de noviembre.